Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
I'm Dan.
Coming up on today's episode, we're going to be talking about this idea of atheists and spirituality.
Oh.
It kind of came up this week.
Are you
right?
spiritual? Are you a spiritual person?
I don't know that I am.
Well, we'll figure that out later. Let's not get into it now.
Yeah, I know. But, I don't know.
It's a question. What the hell does that even mean for us?
Yeah. I'm pretty dead inside, Dan.
You are. You've got the dead eyes. That's for sure. Every time I look at you, I just see the dead eyes.
Oh, that's so sad.
Oh.
Well, sorry if I sound sick, everybody.
Frank's getting over a cold.
Oh, my God.
They're not fun.
No. And if it had hit a day or two earlier or half a week later, I would not have been able to do this podcast.
There you go.
It was awful.
There you go.
My God. Down for the count.
Well, I'm glad
Sorry for the sniffling.
I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you.
We're all very grateful that you were able to.
I got over it.
Yeah.
But I somehow survived.
You managed to survive.
a little virus of some kind.
Indeed. Well, I've got a story of censorship.
Oh?
Oh, the worst kind of censorship.
I hate censorship.
I know.
It makes me really angry, actually.
This comes to us from listener and friend Rachel,
Okay.
who posted a thing. It's in Malaysia.
Okay.
Imagine, if you will, a photograph coming out of in a news outlet
Oh, okay.
with big black censorship squares
Oh, yeah.
all over
Okay,
the picture.
I know the kind.
Only now, instead of it's not masking boobies and it's not masking willies, it's masking the faces of pigs.
What?
You can't. They're not showing the faces of pigs.
Why not? Is there a privacy concern for pigs in Malaysia?
No, it's to protect the Muslims from having to see pigs.
They're not. They can't even see pigs.
I guess not.
Well, I don't understand this at all.
Well, it's so funny because Malaysia, I mean, it's a secular country ostensibly. I mean,
Is it?
It's largely Muslim, but the government's not Muslim.
Oh, okay, sure, okay.
But yeah, apparently a printing. It was a New York Times, an international New York Times article, but they weren't about to show those pigs. Or rather, they weren't about to show the snouts. Really, it's basically just snout censor. They're not showing the snouts.
Who covered the censorship? The New York Times, or was the New York Times censoring?
This was a New York Times article that a printing company in Malaysia decided to just cover up.
Oh my God!
There's no law banning
pig faces.
Pig faces in Malaysia. They were just being sensitive to the whole. And the thing is that these are little piglets, and they're the most adorable things you've ever seen in your life. Like, how anyone could not want to look at that, I just will never understand.
You know what? Here's the thing. There are a lot of things in this world that I don't eat, that I'm okay with seeing a picture of.
Yeah.
That I would be okay with,
even if you think
seeing walking down the street.
That's a very dirty animal.
Yeah.
I'm still okay with seeing a photo of it.
Right.
Especially in relation to some sort of news article.
But pigs aren't particularly dirty, are they?
No, I'm just saying that that. I think that's the objection in Islam, is that they're somehow dirty.
They also don't like dogs.
They don't like dogs. No.
God, Muhammad was weird.
He was like this crazy OCD guy that everybody glommed onto.
Well, they'd never seen anybody who was OCD before.
At least nobody who was well spoken.
Wait a second. This guy, he's got some crazy ideas. Wait, I have to pee sitting down?
Right.
As a man?
This
sounds awesome.
When I was in London, I remember getting onto a bus, and there being, most bus drivers, I read a story about this. Most bus drivers in London, I don't know why, or a lot of bus drivers are Islamic.
Oh, really?
And for whatever, one bus driver was not going to let somebody's seeing eye dog onto their bus.
Oh, you're kidding
Like this whole kerfuffle about dogs. Filthy.
But they're so cute.
Yeah.
They're so sweet.
Yeah,
With their little dog faces.
Yeah, apparently this isn't the first instance of people in Malaysia doing something to kowtow to the Muslim population. Last year, a TV provider ran a warning in front of a documentary about Pope Francis. Okay. This includes Christianity because it's about the Pope, I guess. And apparently,
discretion be advised.
Right. Apparently, they cut the words "Ya Allah" from an Indian film this month.
What is that?
I don't know.
Ya Allah
Or Ya Allah. I don't.
Yeah, Allah. Okay.
All
I'll get
right,
to it.
Allah.
Okay. all
Yeah,
right.
I don't know. In 2005, the children's movie Babe was banned from cinemas. Anyway.
So wait, is the Muslim population asking for this, or is it just like overly sensitive, like people who, well, not overly sensitive, fearful members of society who
don't want to get in trouble?
Just don't even want to go near what the Muslim population might.
All I know
how
is
they might react.
Fuck your pig picture, mister. You don't get to show that here. That's all I know.
Wow. Okay.
They're so cute, these pigs. Can't even believe it. Anyway.
All right. Well, I've got a story all the way around the world from there in Rome. A street art piece by a let's see, what was the name of the Italian artist?
Romsey?
Mauro Palotta. Has taken credit for his Superpope.
Oh, yeah.
So it actually he's sort of he's put the Pope in sort of this superhero stance, right?
Very
like
comic booky.
Comic book. The fist is forward. His white cape is sort of flapping in the breeze. He's carrying a bag that says valores, which is, I'm assuming, Latin for
Valor?
values.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Sure, I don't know.
I think so.
You speak Italian. I don't.
Right.
I only speak some.
It's not. It's definitely not Italian.
Okay, I'll look it up while you're talking.
But anyways, valore, I think, is value in Italian. But valores with the S, probably Latin. So anyways, and he's kind of, like charging forward. He's got a big smile on his face, and it's very Pope Francis. Anyway, so he put it up, and it's the kind of thing where he did it on paper first, and then he just used glue.
Oh, yeah.
To put it to the side of the building.
Sure.
And
that's the quick way to get something up.
The police department responded and took it down.
Yeah.
And
is that unusual?
To take down graffiti
street
in
art?
Rome?
They don't tend to step in on that.
Here's the deal. This is a city that I love.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I truly, truly love Rome. Spent a good chunk of my youth, right?
Yeah.
In the city of Rome.
18 months, something like that?
Well, I was in Italy for 2 years.
Right.
For my mission, and then I was in the city of Rome. I was actually in the city for 10 months.
Okay.
So anyway, I know the city pretty well, and I definitely have an impression of how clean it is. And so anyways, I love the city, but I will say that it can be kind of a shithole.
Yeah.
At times.
Sure.
Right? It's dirty. It's smelly. It's
not a lot of effort going into cleaning up.
No, there's
graffiti.
litter. There's litter everywhere. I mean, truly, it's. Granted, the last time I was there was about 10 years ago, so I really can't say for sure what it's like now.
Right.
Maybe they've done a crackdown on litter and graffiti. I don't know, but there are cock and ball graffiti everywhere.
Right. Sure.
Right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you'll get your cock and balls everywhere.
But like everywhere. It's not like it's not like, oh, I saw it down in the metro or something like that.
Right. It's
right.
just...
Like it's everywhere. And they've been doing, if you've seen like the intro to like Rome, the HBO show.
No, I
right?
haven't.
Oh, okay. So the title credits, thing at the beginning. It has like all this graffiti that's sort of coming alive.
Right.
I recognized half of the graffiti in the thing, right? They still use a lot of the same imagery.
Right.
Like this city is, well, apparently you have, like, if you do one of those, if you do a cock and balls, it's fine.
But you
Right.
fuck with the Pope.
But you put the Pope up, and he's like a superhero.
Yeah, that's not even like
Rip it
anti-Pope.
No, it's
He's
totally
got a bag full of
pro-Pope.
values. It does mean
Yeah.
values, by the
I
way.
figured. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cute. Now, he did do it in a neighborhood that is near the Vatican.
Sure.
And so maybe somebody thought that it
as
might
you
be
would.
a little disrespectful. Maybe. Kinda. I mean, but how is that disrespectful?
Yeah,
I think it's awesome. It shows like artists, pop culture, people are responding to this Pope.
Right. They're embracing his superness
Yeah.
and his values
And so
in a bag.
yeah, I don't get it.
Well, there you go.
So
There
anyways,
you go.
so that happened in Rome.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what didn't happen in Rome, but it has to do with the Pope.
What's that?
The Pope decided that he was going. I'm sure you saw this. I think everybody saw this, but it's just so delightful that you can't get past it. It was in Rome. It was in Rome. Sorry, it was in St. Peter's Square.
Oh yeah.
And he and two beautiful little children released doves. Aww.
I heard about this.
And then the doves were immediately attacked by a seagull and a crow. They just swooped in midair
Yeah.
and attacked these doves.
They're like getting ripped apart in the photos that I saw.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Feathers flying.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I'm not one that believes in symbolism. I'm not one that really goes in for that sort of nonsense, but if you're going to release symbolic birds
Yeah.
and then other birds attack those birds,
Yeah.
that's some crazy fucked up shit right there. You have now changed your symbol. Your peace doves are now under attack
Yeah.
by a seagull. Have you ever heard of a seagull attacking another bird?
I guess it depends on how hungry they are. I mean,
I can't imagine a seagull around St. Peter's Square being hungry.
did they rub the dove in bread first?
Right? Some
They greased it up.
evil person in the Vatican, made these doves smell amazing.
No, they made it smell like trash.
Yeah, yeah,
Because that's
exactly.
where the seagulls in Salt
I'm
Lake
saying-
are. Have you ever been out to the dump?
Oh, yeah.
It's nothing but seagulls.
You
They're
guys may not,
disgusting birds.
You listeners from outside of Utah may not know this, but the seagull is the state bird here in the in Utah.
in landlocked Utah.
In landlocked Utah, that's right.
Because we have tons of them, and they're awful birds.
They're fine.
They're awful birds.
They're fine.
I hate seagulls.
They're fine.
They're like pigeons.
You don't own a convertible. You don't care.
They're urban flying rats.
They're fine.
They're
but,
awful.
But apparently they do attack doves. Apparently they are nature's guard against doves. And then this crow, what is their beef? I don't get it. But I do have to say that if I were a believer, that would not bode well to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a crow, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
This black bird swooping into the whole thing. At least
Yeah,
the
exactly.
seagull, you couldn't quite tell what was going on because it's another white bird. They're just playing.
Right.
You know?
At that point, but a crow, yeah. I mean, if the whiteness of the dove is meant to signal purity and love and whatever,
Yeah.
all of that is very, very is brought into sharp focus by the blackness of the crow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
It's
that's pretty fucking funny.
I know.
I don't even know what to say about it. Except that it happened, and your metaphor got ruined, Mr. Pope.
Well, and the thing that just kept going through my mind was that I wanted the camera to not be necessarily on the birds, but on the children's faces.
Right.
That's what I really wanted to see.
Somebody needed
That was
to be
the missed
shooting that.
photo.
Somebody needed to be filming.
Everybody's interested in these damn birds. No, I want to see these kids.
Yeah. Why did they kill my dove?
The kids look so sweet in that first photo where they're smiling and and the Pope seems all we're doing this thing together.
It's this really
so
cute thing, and the Pope's Pope's like everybody's grandpa.
Yeah,
The Pope's like your fun grandpa who lets you release some doves.
yeah.
Hey, you want to do something with religious symbolism? And then, you know what? You know what we need? We need the
What's
other
that?
photo, which is of Pope Benedict releasing the seagull and the crow.
Yeah.
From his...
He's like,
Fuck your little birds. I release thee. Go, my minions. Destroy the doves.
it got a little more emperor toward the end, but that should have all been emperor.
It should have all been emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Release the doves.
Your friends have no chance now, Mr. Francis. I have an armed and fully operational dove station.
Anyway, that's fun. That's fun.
There you go.
Well, I have another Catholic story.
Ooh.
I didn't realize that this was going to be so Catholic.
Well, that's okay.
It's fine. It's what's going on in the world.
It's the universal church. That's what that word means.
Mm-hmm. So this, I think the headline, I was not able to confirm whether or not this headline is actually accurate. Because it doesn't, once you read kind of the facts in the story, it doesn't necessarily ring true.
Is it like a clickbait type headline?
No, not too bad, actually.
Okay.
I found this on the Daily Beast. And it's in their travel section, actually. It says, the largest church in the world has the fewest worshipers. Now, actually, while reading that, I was thinking about the fact that it's in the travel section. And the fact, because this is in the Ivory Coast.
Oh, okay.
You're not supposed to go to the Ivory Coast.
No.
The Ivory Coast, I saw a map recently of places you don't go in Africa.
Yeah.
And that was like the reddest of one of the red zones.
Oh, dear.
Well, it was in the middle of one of the red zones. But anyways, former Ivory Coast dictator, I'm not even going to try to get this right, Felix Houphouët-Boigny.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Are you familiar with Houphouët-Boigny?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's pronounced Boingay.
I don't think so.
I'm
I
just
don't.
kidding.
I
I
don't
have
see
no
the
idea.
letters that going that way.
Nope.
Anyways, he built this crazy huge church that was modeled after St. Peter's in Rome that we were just talking about. And I mean, you look at pictures of it and you're like, holy crap, yeah, like that thing is insane. Like it has sort of a recreation of St. Peter's Square.
Yeah.
With the colonnade thing. The dome totally looks like St. Peter's. Now, I will say it doesn't look like it's as enclosed as St. Peter's is, but it does seat. I mean, and the thing is, like, you look at it and you're like, because there's nothing nearby this thing. He built it out in the middle of nowhere. And so that's why it has sort of the fewest worshipers.
Because nobody's around.
Nobody goes. Like 350 people show up to go to church in this thing that seats, ostensibly it seats 18,000 people.
Let me tell you something. As someone who's performing a play, who's currently in a production of a play, in a theater that can seat well over 1,000 people.
Yeah, it's a big theater.
But doesn't necessarily market very well. So usually we get, a good turnout, but it still feels sparse.
Yeah. Oh, do they warn you before the first show that that's
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Do they have a chat about it? Because, I mean, I've never been to a show at the Grand that was full.
No, they don't sell it out. You can't sell it out, and they just if they're not going to market the damn thing, then yeah, you're not going to sell it out.
How do they stay in business? It's a nonprofit.
I'm not even gonna. I don't know anything about their business.
Oh, okay.
I show up, I do my acting, and I go home.
Okay.
But anyway, the point is, that's a 500. That's like a half full house. And it feels sparse. So 500 to 1,000 to 1 ratio. 300 to 18,000?
Yeah.
That's going to feel like nobody's there.
Yeah. Well, and I bet they have a lot of, can people in the back please come to the front? So I don't have to yell so much. Can you come to the front?
Oh, and there's going to be somebody that shows up and wants to sit like up in the balcony all the way at the back.
Some antisocial Catholic.
Please leave me alone.
Well,
is it a Catholic?
It is Catholic.
Oh my God.
And it was built. So in 1985, Houphouët-Boigny. God, I know I'm just butchering that.
You know what? I looked it up, and it looks like it's pronounced Ufwet Boigny. Boigny.
Ufyep Boigny.
Ufwet Boigny.
Boigny. Ufyep Boigny. Okay, that's how I'll say it from now. Ufyep Boigny. Boigny. He moved the capital after he came to rule the country. He moved the capital to the town where he grew up, which is Yamoussoukro. And so the name of the church is Basilique Notre-Dame de la Paix de Yamoussoukro, or the Basilica of Our Lady of Peace of Yamoussoukro. And he paid for it. Well, it sounds like he paid for it all himself.
Okay.
Because he amassed billions of dollars.
Oh, was he like
he was a naughty dictator. Of
diamond tycoon of some sort?
I have no clue how he did it. But anyways, so they started work back in the 80s, and he made the whole, like, he was at the end of his life, and he knew it. And so he just threw money at the project. And in 3 years, basically built St. Peter's in the Ivory Coast. Out in the middle of nowhere, right? And so there were like 1,500 workers just going nuts, building the damn thing.
Oh my God.
And he really wanted the Pope to show up to dedicate the thing in 1990.
Yes, of course he did.
And the Pope said no.
This was Pope John Paul?
John Paul II, yes.
Right.
And but finally somehow he was able to convince him, because the Pope required that the government build a neighboring hospital for the poor. I was like, okay, if this is so important to you, I'm going to get something out of this for the poor.
Yeah.
So that's nice. The Pope has some power. So he shows up, and there's a 50-room mansion built just for the Pope and his entourage that has a swimming pool and whatever else. And you look at and apparently it's adjacent to this damn building, and you look and you go, oh yeah, there is a building next to it. Like, that's the thing about St. Peter's in Rome. It's just one big old building amongst a bunch of old buildings, and you don't really the scale starts to kind of disappear in a way. This thing, you look at it and you go, oh yeah, I see a big building, and then you go, wait a second, that 3-story building right there is huge.
You're like, that tiny little thing
and
is a mansion for the Pope?
Yeah.
Wait, I want to see it.
Yeah. Look at that thing. I'm assuming that's the building right there. But anyways, I mean, you look around, those are trees. Those are people. No, those are cars.
I love it. What I love about that picture, and you guys can probably, Mackenzie will throw that up onto the Facebook and whatever. But what I love about that picture is that you will never get a photo of St. Peter's without like a shit ton of people all around it, like a big crowd of people.
Yeah, in the square.
This thing is empty.
Yeah, no, nobody's there.
Nobody gives a shit about this thing.
Yeah.
I love that sort of thing.
It's amazing.
Oh,
so anyways, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how he could expect the native Ivorians to show up in large numbers to this. Apparently Catholicism isn't that very big of a religion there. It's only like 10% of the population. So he builds this massive structure in a tiny town, expecting people to show up, and of course, like, why would they?
Yeah.
And so
yeah. Well, there you go.
I love stories like that.
Yeah, there's just always something fun about, like, I know, I'll build this most amazing edifice, and never a thought to, because the best thing about a dictator is that they can do stuff and nobody dares to say, this isn't going to work.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody dares to sort of say that. So they just build it, and then, there you go.
But they can get shit done, those dictators.
Oh, they can.
Sometimes I'm kind of like, God damn it.
Well, I often feel that truly the best governmental setup you could have would be a brilliant, benevolent dictator.
Yeah.
Because then it's just all the shit gets done.
Right.
Nobody's allowed to question it.
Right.
You don't have to deal with politicians.
Right.
The problem is getting a brilliant, benevolent one.
Right.
As opposed to a dipshit asshole.
Right.
Which is generally what you get. You get the dipshit assholes.
Right.
So there you go.
Your Marcus Aureliuses don't come along very often. And I don't even know how, like, He was.
Who knows?
He was kind of a dictator, wasn't Marcus Aurelius? Anyways,
I'm not.
I said something that was probably wrong. People.
Yeah, don't write to us.
No need to write.
We
get this all the time.
Roman scholars, it's okay. Keep it to yourself.
Unless I'm right, don't tell me. I'm not. I'm just done.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back in time 4,000 years.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a ways back.
It's a chunk.
Okay.
It's a chunk back.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, one might say it's almost antediluvian, which would mean
before the flood.
before the flood.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
that's a $10 word.
it's not antediluvian because what we're talking about is a new tablet that has recently been finally sort of translated
Oh.
in cuneiform, which is an ancient language. 4,000 years old, this tablet, and it's an account of a flood. And
Really?
a guy who is commanded by several gods, not a god, not the god,
What?
but gods,
Okay.
to create a boat and to bring on all of the animals.
Wow. So they ripped off the story of Noah.
Well, you could say that, except that the story of Noah was written at most like 900 BC. So
See, that doesn't make any sense. How did they do that then?
you would think that it's a miracle. It's a miracle. But no, so what this is actually from Mesopotamia, which is modern day Iraq. That area. And the dealio.
The Fertile Crescent.
The Fertile Crescent.
Wasn't that the Fertile Crescent?
Sure.
I think so.
Okay.
I remember that from like the 3rd or 4th grade.
Okay. Well, we'll just go with that then. I prefer to think of it as the Fertile Cross, but if you want to be all Muslim-y about it,
It's more the shape of the geography rather than the religion that came
I'd like to think of it
thousands
as
of years later.
the fertile sickle and hammer.
It was pretty fertile.
Anyway, so what this is just another. We've known for a bit that flood stories have pervaded ancient mythologies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They didn't
and
like water very much in the desert.
they were like, water! Wait, water! I'm afraid.
Why?
Apparently.
It's like what you want when you're in the desert.
Yeah, but if there's so much of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing floods.
Flash flood.
Go ahead.
Flash floods.
You did it.
Yay.
Those are dangerous.
They are.
They are.
So imagine a big one.
Yeah, exactly. Sent by gods.
Yeah.
A god or gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sole survivor is the guy that brings all... Now, there's some interesting differences.
Mm-hmm.
Our Noah, that we know so well from the book, from Il Biblo, the Bible, he built a boat, and the dimensions are described, and it's, it's about 6 times longer than it is wide, and it's a boat. It's a boat shape. What we think of as a boat shape.
Oh no.
As an arc shape.
Yeah.
This one is more of I get the sense it's a disc. It's a round boat.
That could work, right?
Sure. I don't know. Apparently some scholars are going to try it. See if it can work.
To see if it's true or not.
Right. But this one...
Wait, did they actually do this? Could it actually work? Like, is that what they're trying to figure out?
They're trying. I think that's how they...
Bullshit. I mean, come on. People in the desert describing something that they think will float and hold a bunch of...
Well, no, apparently this is based... We do know that the Mesopotamians did have these sort of round lens-shaped boats.
Oh, they did?
For floating in the water, in rivers.
Oh.
Mesopotamia refers to middle of the river.
Oh.
Meso meaning middle.
Uh-huh.
P-O-T
Potamia?
meaning river. It's the same as hippopotamus, which means river horse.
Oh, wow.
It's
Look
just...
at you.
There you go.
And
you're a little bit
somebody who had never seen the thing.
Right. So they used to float around in these little disc-shaped, lens-shaped round boats.
Right.
This one, by the way, made of rope, woven rope and coated in pitch to keep it waterproof.
Oh, yeah.
Although, to get all of those aminals on there, you have to have a pretty big lens. That's a pretty big round boat to have.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
that's a big, So they just upscaled it. They just took a little riverboat,
Sure,
and scaled it up.
it would be what the Native Americans would have come up with a giant canoe had they
Yes.
had
Exactly.
a flood myth.
That would be a very big canoe.
Big canoe. Yeah.
Where are they even going to find the tree
Yeah.
to hollow out for that? They're going to have to combine trees or a series of canoes.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, like a modern aircraft carrier wouldn't do the job.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of the most absurd things.
It is. And, I've forgotten
and clearly a fable. Clearly, a total myth.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
But undeniably, right? I don't care if you believe the Bible is true. There has to be, parts of it that you go, this is just ancient people not understanding.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
What it took. I'll try to take whatever I can from this story. It's a story of faith and, following God's commands and whatnot.
Sure.
You could totally turn it into something like that.
Well, and when you think about Middle Eastern countries, you think, you know what? It might have seemed reasonable to get all of the animals from a Middle Eastern country on board a boat.
Right. Because how many animals did they have?
You got your jackals, you got
lizards,
a couple of camels flying around, whatever. You don't have all the animals.
Right. They weren't thinking about elephants and giraffes. And,
all of the things. They were not thinking about orangutans
and kangaroo,
tigers, and
but
no.
in modern depictions of this event,
all of them.
It's all of them.
All of them.
And it's
how did Noah get to all of the continents?
Ludicrous.
How did Noah get? He went to the U.S. It
was a lot of work.
The Americas. He was. Yeah, that's true. And he had the Lord on his side.
And I mean, most likely, it was Pangea, right? It was one massive
4,000 years ago, 4,500 years ago.
No. That's what it was before the flood. And then while the earth was covered in water,
everything
the
floated
tectonic
around.
plates were moving out to where they now are.
Yeah, he couldn't have seen that, of course, because
they had no clue what was going on underneath the ocean.
Okay, we're making this work. Making this work.
Actually heard that floated as a theory.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's how did he find all the animals? They were on different continents. Well, no, it was one continent.
It was one continent, and all of the animals were within a 20-mile radius.
I mean,
of one guy.
The issue here is God is magical.
That's true.
God of the Old Testament is magical, and he does crazy shit.
When you come right down to it, that is the issue.
God damn it.
Yeah. So anyway, but now I just have this pleasant image of Noah on board the most massive round boat ever.
What's his name? Do they have a name for the guy?
I don't know.
Because I doubt it's Noah.
It wasn't listed. It was just a guy.
Okay.
In the article that I read.
Okay. Interesting.
A single survivor. But yeah.
He was the only survivor? He didn't take his family?
It doesn't mention anything about his family, but one would think that they would have had to come up with something to make it clear that the human race continues.
Oh, was there a rainbow at the end?
There's no mention of it in the story that I've that I read.
Well, see, here's the deal. That's why Noah's was the last one.
Because he was gay?
No. Because that was God's symbol that he would never flood the earth again.
This is a totally other flood.
This is a different flood.
You're saying that there have been
many different floods.
And God throughout the ages has been like, all right, I'm going to kill everybody again. Yeah. Somebody gather up all the animals because I don't want to kill them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what it's like. And
oh my God.
It's something that we said we weren't going to really talk about. But it's Battlestar Galactica.
We are going to talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah.
So we'll you'll explain that comment, I hope, at that point.
Okay.
Anyway, this cuneiform thing even has the phrase 2x2 in it.
Really?
Yeah. So they're
well, I mean, you need two.
You do need two
to get it on in order to have more.
It takes two to tango, baby.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
What do you got?
Well, my last one is actually while I was sick this week, I took the opportunity to watch a lot of television. A Holy crap. I haven't watched that much TV in a long time.
Yeah.
But one of the things that popped up on Netflix was a film that they're carrying that was just at Sundance called Mitt.
Yes.
And I was just sort of hopped up on enough like cough syrup and whatnot that I was like, that's a good idea. Let's watch Mitt. I want to spend an hour and a half with the Romneys.
Sure. This is about former presidential candidate Mittens J. Romney.
Yes. Who, of course, famously did not. He's not our president.
He's not our president. That's correct.
He did not win.
That is correct.
So anyway, so it's the tale. It's a remarkable behind the scenes. Okay, let me back up. It's remarkable how much access they gave this camera dude.
Okay. Now this is a Mormon filmmaker.
Yes.
And he's the one that made, what was the other film that he made that got a little bit of attention?
I don't know. You look that up.
Okay,
I didn't really pay that much attention to who the filmmaker was.
Yeah.
But what's important here is that he was clearly somebody who the Romneys trusted to come in and not to film the behind the scenes of the campaign.
Right.
But behind the scenes of the family on the campaign trail. Which is totally different. Like, I thought I was getting into like a kind of, that there's a couple famous, there was one of Clinton's campaign that's, fantastic behind the scenes look at like the actual politicking of the campaign. And I think there's a famous one of like JFK, behind the scenes. But this is very, very different. This is not about politics per se. This is about the Romneys. And I have to say that there's if you watch if you actually decide to watch the thing, which I wouldn't discourage anybody from seeing it. It's with the caveat of it's not very good.
It's just a puff piece.
It's just a nice little puff piece about the Romneys. But here's the deal. It's sort of shocking at the beginning of just sort of how normal they come across. And normal for Mormons, right? Like, they don't come across as like your next door neighbors. They come across as the weirdo Mormons across the street.
Who are normal for Mormons.
For Mormons.
They're good at Mormoning.
They're very, very good at being Mormons. And that actually, like, I was kind of taken aback as to like just how effing Mormon these people are.
Yeah.
Like this was not like, oh, they, inherited Mormonism and, well, it's our cross to bear.
No.
They are Mormon.
They are on board with the Mormon train.
Crap.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who when she used to live in Boston, and he was her stake president.
Oh, Jesus.
And she loved him.
Yeah, if you're Mormon, you're going to like this guy, actually.
Right. Well, no, not necessarily. Remember the stories of the girls that, like, he went. There were stories about girls that under his theological tutelage, who he went to and like tried to talk out of having abortions when they were, and like was really a bully about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah.
Nonetheless. So, anyways, it was just an interesting, again, hour and a half of just the Romneys being Mormon, and what was crazy to me is, and I'm sure it wasn't always this way on the campaign trail, but just, I mean, they had the whole family in tow, the whole family, and all the kids all the boys with their wives,
and these guys are
grandkids.
These guys, Mormons,
and they'd have like this big suite.
Have a lot of kids.
Yeah. They'd have like a big suite at whatever hotel they were in, and they'd all just like hang out in it.
Sure.
And then so it's like, after Dad is done with like, his advisors, he would come in and he would decompress with the fam. And that's what was going on. And there are just some really weird moments of like the strange conversations they were having. And like the whole thing is trying to paint the Romneys as like not out of touch with the American people. Right? Like they sort the issue of like the car elevator down in San Diego or La Jolla or wherever the house is down in Southern California, that sort of gets addressed as like, well, yeah, but what about Mom's MS?
Yeah, that's right. And like, has MS or something.
Right.
And so it's like,
and so like, and the whole dressage nonsense with the horses that
Right.
was so famously made fun of as well because of how elitist of an activity it is, and how
Right.
like they had like 2 horses in the Olympics, right, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, and so like that they owned, and so that whole thing, just how effing like elitist they really are,
Snooty.
and how out of touch their lives are, and they're trying to reframe it in this whole like, well, Anne has MS, and so the horses are good for her. Well, yeah, and well, if that's the case, then yeah, have a couple horses and have her ride around. But like,
and
how out of like who with MS in this country gets to have a bunch of dressage horses because it relaxes them,
and a car elevator.
and a car elevator
Right.
because it helps her out because she can't get around. And this is, I'm not being unsympathetic to the MS thing.
No.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Right? That's a horrible thing. I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
No.
But they're trying to like spin it as like, well, yeah, but wouldn't you do this too?
Well, what they're doing is they're taking the ammunition that the opposition has used against them, and frankly, it's bullshit ammunition. Like, if you have millions of dollars, you get horses. That's
Right.
just something that you get to do.
Right.
But they're trying to spin it like, oh, we're the victims here.
Right.
We're and why would you get on us about that?
Right.
And I agree. Don't get on him about it. Get on him about like his bullshit stances and his blah blah blah. But he is out of touch.
Oh yeah.
He does. You can't have probably hundreds of millions of dollars, if not, I mean, at least tens of millions.
It's a lot of money. Whatever it is, if it's not 100,
Right.
it's close to it. It's not like he has $10 million in the bank.
No, it's plenty of money.
He's got a lot of money.
He's never known. He doesn't know what it feels like to raise kids on a budget.
No. Well, and he does kind of acknowledge that at one point in the film. He talks about how his dad was the real deal.
Yeah.
Because, he
Came out of Mexico
and ends up running GM.
Yeah.
And being a governor.
Yeah.
And running for president.
Yeah.
Like he did the whole thing. And Mitt does acknowledge the fact that he starts where his life started where his dad sort of left off.
Right.
He had the benefit of everything his dad built up.
Exactly.
And add on to that Harvard education and so forth and so on,
Right.
and tons of money to begin with.
All of the accoutrements that come with being wealthy.
Yeah.
By the way, the guy that made Mitt, I remember his name is Greg Whiteley, and the other documentary that he made, which I loved this documentary, New York Doll. Did you see New York Doll?
Oh yeah, I did.
About
that was a great documentary.
The punk rock band, the New York Dolls,
Yeah.
and how Arthur Killer Kane, who was a member of that, joined the Mormon Church afterwards. And stuff.
That was a really good one. Actually.
Yeah. But this guy definitely focuses. He likes his Mormons.
Yeah.
This
Well,
Greg
and
Whiteley guy.
it's clear also that, like, okay, so the film paints Romney as running for president for all the right reasons, right? Like his love for this country and his deep belief that it's on the wrong track and blah, 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 right? Like
couldn't be anything to do with like his deep belief that he needs like his companies need to be protected and
right. And so it paints this picture. I don't know whether Greg Whiteley is part of the charm offensive or not. That Mitt Romney may or may not be engaging in, but I did just see him on Jimmy Fallon.
Mitt,
yeah, was on the late show.
The Late Show, yeah.
Or tonight
I think it's just the Late Show.
The Late Show,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
Late Night. He was on Late Night.
Yeah.
And being, the charming, former candidate for president, trying to just be a human being,
right?
Ostensibly promoting the documentary,
right?
But
really,
do you really, like, if you're sort of done with public life, do you really go do that?
Right? Do you promote a documentary that's about you, but you don't really get any money out of it or anything?
Right? Yeah.
No.
The director.
Dude's running.
Yeah.
Prepare yourselves for another Mitt attack.
It's going to be amazing if he runs. Well, what's going to be amazing is if he actually succeeds in rebranding himself as a human being.
Oh my God! Yeah, the Dems need to watch out for that. They're doing a good job of taking down Christie. Now they got to focus back on this guy, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Anywho, there you go. If you have anything to talk to us about, we can be reached. You can write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
We like to hear those. We also like when people engage with us on the Facebooks. That's facebook.com/TGI Atheist.
Yes, and so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to listen to Glenn Beck warning us about the future.
Impending doom.
And robots.
Don't say anymore. Beck will explain it all.
The heritage of Christianity in the military is under attack. They took Christian ethics out, one of the first things this president did. It's becoming increasingly more difficult now for soldiers to pray in public and share their faith with others. Bibles are being banned from Walter Reed Medical Center. What? And some soldiers are being taught that they shouldn't join Christian groups like the AFA, American Families Association, because they're a hate group. I want to make it very clear. I'm not suggesting that you have to be a Christian to be in the military, but what you do have to have is a moral set of standards. And for most people, those moral lines come from God. God gives us moral lines, natural rights, and natural laws that everyone can agree on. When you erase God, or nature's God and nature's law, and you take them out of the picture, you erase our moral standards. And a society with no moral compass will not last. Now, I want you to combine what you know about the dissolving of our ethical and moral structures with this new piece of information that came out this weekend. Google has increasingly positioned itself as a key contractor for the U.S. military. So now Google, do no evil, is now part of the industrial complex, working closely with the NSA now for at least 6 years that we know of. And now they are expanding their ties to the U.S. defense as they have purchased at least 8 robotics companies that we know of with the sole purpose of supplying the U.S. military with these things. Okay. That doesn't. Robots that are humanoid. Humanoid robots. That's good. Did anybody see Did you guys see the Star Wars where Emperor Palpatine was like, yes, just as I have foreseen? Oh, there they are. Look, the humanoid robots. A giant technology company ingratiating itself and ingraining itself into the U.S. military. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think that probably ends very well. Have we seen the movies? You remember Terminator?
You know what? If we had an all-robot military, I'd be fine with that.
Well, then we got no skin in the game, and then we just go to war. The Hawks would just not even think twice about going to war. At least now we can say, hey, you're putting people at risk.
Yeah, but we'd be safe.
Okay.
We'd be safe.
That's a good, valid point.
Yeah.
I just have to hand it to Glenn Beck, because to draw the line from they're banning all the God from the military, which of course isn't true at all. To draw that line from there all the way to clones are going to be killing us all. That guy can draw some lines.
He's good at it.
That guy knows how to connect the dots in a way that doesn't make any sense at all.
No, he's on top of it. That one.
Oh my goodness.
That's what he does. That is, he's made a whole career on ridiculous connections. And people sit at home and just are like, what did they think? Oh yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Holy crap.
Okay. We were just talking about building a bunker.
Right. Now
it's time.
Now we've got to make sure that it's fortified against robots.
Yeah.
We got to make sure that, because Obama's going to send the robots after us.
Can we how can we defeat the robots?
How can we protect ourselves against the robots? I'm going to need more guns.
I read Robopocalypse, which supposedly is going to be made into a blockbuster feature film.
Oh, good. I hope Michael Bay gets his hands on it.
No, I heard Spielberg was attached to it. But anyways, Robopocalypse, I read it. It was terrifying. It was truly terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, if the robots take over, we're in trouble.
This was one computer that took over the world.
Yeah, well,
it was terrifying.
iRobot had the same basic concept.
But it wasn't one computer, was it?
I think so. I think in the end it ended. I only saw the movie. I didn't actually read the thing.
Oh. I didn't see the movie.
Okay.
But Robopocalypse was a little more terrifying because the computer sequesters itself into this like bunker. I mean, it's amazing how the thing pulls it all off, right?
Yeah.
Like how it's described in the book. It sequesters itself like up in Alaska somewhere with its own like unique power source out in the middle of nowhere, commanding all the world's like robots. I mean, it's set in the near future, so there's actually like there are robot like soldiers and whatnot. And so it's like command, but then it also like takes over like a manufacturing plant and creates these horrifying little cluster robots that like just attack from all sides and then blow up.
Oh, okay.
So it like blows you up in horrible ways. And there's this one scene where like this it's awful. It's just awful what happens.
It's okay.
Book.
It's fiction, Frank.
I know,
it's
but
fiction.
It's like it was so real to me. While reading.
Well, good. That's the mark of a good writer.
It was
good
terrifying.
writer. Anyway, let's get to our fine listeners and they're corresponding with us.
What do they have to say?
I'm gonna try something new. We had a lot of correspondence, and I'm not gonna do this every time by any stretch of the imagination, but we're gonna just plow through these.
Okay, let's plow through.
We're going speed style here.
All right,
I'm gonna
let's
pull only the salient things out, and we're gonna give them the quick answers. Here we go. Number one is from Reagan. Reagan says, was interested in the Mormon concept of the afterlife. Do they really believe they get their own planet when they die? Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Multiple planets.
Yeah.
Anyway.
As many as they can muster, actually.
Sure. Make as many as you want.
They have all eternity to just
Have
keep
plenty
making
of time.
planets.
This one's from John. He says, "Hey Frank and Dan, big sci-fi fan, found out only in the last 10 years or so that Battlestar Galactica is heavily infused with Mormon elements and ideas. Did we know that? And are we fans and stuff?
I knew that.
I did know that. If you want to look for some interesting stuff, you look for their home planet is Kobol,
which sounds a lot like Kolob.
which is just a spooner or an anagram of Kolob.
Not their home planet. The gods of Kobol or lords of Kobol.
Oh, they're headed toward Kobol.
No, they're headed toward Earth.
Oh, that's right. Who knows?
But they pray to like the lords of Kobol. There's the Quorum of the 12,
Right, which is
a governing body in the LDS Church.
right.
Also a
But
governing.
also there's the 12 tribes, which I think there's a
yeah.
reference to that.
And they. Yeah.
There you go. The
And
creator
Caprica is really important in Mormon theology.
Also, Mormons do believe in Cylons. Moving on. Lake wrote in and said he was talking about we talked about liquor in Utah, and he said he came to Salt Lake City back in the 80s, and here's what he remembered. There was a requirement. So we talked about how all bars were technically called private clubs.
That's true.
And you had to have a membership. And we forgot an element of that because it's been long enough that we forgot this part.
What?
You could be sponsored come by a member.
There would be somebody like sitting by the door.
So here's what he said. He said there seemed to be a requirement for an existing member to sponsor you for a club membership. The upshot of which was that every bar that we went to had an old drunk who sat by the door who, as soon as you walked in, would say, "Hey, buddy, I'll sponsor you for a beer." You'd agree, and he'd get his beer, and you'd get in.
Yeah.
Which is great. Yep,
Yeah.
that did used to happen. I remember that now.
Yep.
Virginia wrote in and said... And took us to task because we said that the Pilgrims founded America. And she said, no, the first permanent English settlement in North America was Jamestown, Virginia, founded in 1607. And the Plymouth guys didn't come along until 1620. Well, you're real smart, Virginia. Thanks.
Really?
I'm just kidding.
Virginia decides to write in and
correct
add
us
to the conversation.
She was a little snarky at the beginning of her thing. That's what I'm responding to.
Okay.
She said tisk tisk to us. So yeah, you're a smarty pants. You're correct. You're correct. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Erica, our friend Erica, wrote in to take us to task because we lumped the libertarians in with the Tea Party people. Wow, how could we have made that mistake?
Moving on.
But she said no. She just wanted to make sure that we understood that libertarians can be very pro-gay.
They can.
Yeah, they're very.
Well, yeah.
They can be, and she says they are, but I say they can be.
They can be because there's
socially liberal.
They can be,
but they're not always.
They're not always.
And
no,
and yeah,
because they're the Utah libertarians that I am aware of. are not necessarily.
But the libertarian...
But some of them are.
Anyway.
But nonetheless.
There you go.
On.
Thanks, Erica.
We're supposed to be speeding through.
Yeah, we're powering through. So we had a bunch of people write in so in reference to an email that we got from a guy in Idaho who was worried because he was getting a divorce. He was worried about how his kids were being raised by their very Christian-y mom and her new boyfriend. I'm just going to pull out some stuff because apparently they're beating the mom, or they're paddling the kids.
The boyfriend fiance is using a paddle. Yes.
So
which I objected to, but we didn't stress it enough.
Right. Well, and so one person decided that you probably need to call. Nobody, by the way, none of the people that I'm about to quote said anything about I am an expert on this. So please take this all with a grain of salt.
Sure.
But here's some thoughts. We're just going to throw it at you. See what you think. This person said call Child Protective Services right away, just because there's no legal or moral right to beat the kids.
Right.
Also, James mentioned tell the lawyers that technically the ex is committing adultery.
Oh yeah.
So that might be fodder for you. Who knows?
Divorce a little.
So another person. This is Mike from Canada. So, I mean, what do you know about our laws, Mike? But anyway, Mike suggests that he needs, and this is actually probably good advice, he needs to be very careful. Divorced atheists have lost the ability to even have contact with their children if they get the wrong judge. I don't know how true that is. He listed a couple of links to that. Anyway, the point is that the wrong judge could frown heavily on your atheism.
Sure, yeah.
He even goes as far as to recommend finding a lawyer who is also atheist so that you can, that they're up on the thing. Right. Not a bad idea. You already have a lawyer, but whatever. And he says don't take the kids to a mosque or a temple. It's too inflammatory and could endanger your visitation rights. Possible. I don't know. I don't know. Talk to your lawyer. And then Amber suggests, Amber wrote in just to give some reassurance to him, saying, I was raised in the Church of Christ in the South. My dad did not and does not go to church, but he did not stop my mom from taking me. He never discussed religion with me at all. My mom is a hardcore fundamentalist, as I was too. Church was my life. I am now 32 and an atheist. I give some of the credit to my dad's example. I spent many nights crying myself to sleep because I thought my dad was going to burn in hell for all eternity. Yeah. And then, eventually she had to reconcile those two positions: the thought of her dad burning, and the thought that he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And eventually, it led her
and what God sets that world up.
Exactly.
Those set of laws, those rules.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't make it.
Doesn't always work that way, but that's one thing that could happen.
Yeah. But that's playing the long game.
That's the long game.
Yeah. You're letting it play.
Now, I don't think that you have to be quiet. I don't think that you have to not discuss it, but just understand that
well, and I think the way that we left it off, and I still like the way that we left it off, was raise smart, bright, generous, good kids.
Yeah.
And if they happen to believe in God, but they're still those good, awesome people,
then you're fine.
Then you're probably going to be fine.
You're fine.
You're going to have raised really good, smart kids.
Yep.
And that understand, that have been really taught good values.
And that's the most important thing.
Good values separate from a religious structure.
Right.
That's what you really need to stress.
Indeed.
So anyways.
And then finally, Craig wrote in, and there's more people, but this is as far as we're going to get. Craig wrote in, and I just wanted to bring Craig up because he wrote about the meetup on February 12th.
Yeah, okay.
Which we have not planned yet. We don't have a place for it, but it's still there.
Yeah.
We will have a meetup on the 12th of February. Write into us if you're going to join it, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com, and just keep us, let us know if you're under 21, because if we don't hear from anybody, then we'll definitely have it in a bar.
Yeah.
And if we do hear from somebody, then we'll consider not having it in a bar.
Figure out
we won't guarantee it.
Maybe we'll do it at a restaurant, get some appetizers, and then
something like that.
Have some boozy if we want.
Anyway, keep that in your minds, all you Salt Lakers and those around in adjoining areas.
Yeah, because we'd love to meet you.
Yeah, totally.
Okie dokie.
Wow, we did that fast. Good job.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Boom.
All right. Donors, Dan.
We do have some donors.
Before we do that, we had a voicemail.
Oh, yeah, let's do the
Let's do
voicemail.
our voicemail.
Sure.
I really like this voicemail. This is Sam, and he asks us an important question.
Hi, Frank and Dan. This is Samuel calling all the way from Madison, Wisconsin, home of the FERF. You mentioned a lot about coming out as, both as atheists and as gay, and kind of the issues with how family reacts and negative reactions and stuff. And I'm curious if there are any things that your children would come out as or like announce to you that would just devastate you. You know, I think it's really easy to say, you know, that you'd be very accepting of everything, but I'm wondering if, like, you know, you walk in on your teenager at night and he's like kneeling by his bedside praying or something, and if that would just destroy you or anything, you know, any maybe political beliefs or something. That, anyways, just curious. Love the podcast, guys. Keep it up.
Well,
That's a good question.
that's a very interesting. My first response is the main thing that would really mess with my mind is for me to find out that I actually have a kid.
Same here.
Because I would be very confused at that point. But let's just assume
You've at least had sex with women, though.
That's
So
true.
It
That's
is
true.
conceivable
it's possible
that there is a young
a little
Dan Jr. out there
running around.
that you don't know about.
I guess so. Ooh.
That
Some stuff would have had to go
10
horribly
years,
wrong.
10 years, you get a call.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Anywho, yeah, there would have had to have been like broken condoms and stuff. But okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let's have hypothetical children, you and I, Franklin.
Okay.
And decide what would freak us out.
Well, I thought about it for a little while, and you know, like the whole you see the kid praying. I mean, it would be disappointing, but I don't know that it would freak me out. I would feel that I had done something wrong, right? but I think that like the real thing that would like freak me out is if the kid like truly like, you know, did something grossly unethical or immoral.
Yeah,
you know,
that would.
And they come to me and they're like, I just, you know,
cut the head off a cat.
Yeah, or, you know, maybe they're an adult and they admit to, you know, swindling a bunch of people out of money or something like that. Like, that would be like, that would devastate me.
Absolutely. That would
say
that's
I
brilliant.
absolutely failed as a parent.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. I agree with that. I think that's brilliant.
Whether or not I actually did, you know, obviously you blame yourself, and I don't want to say that parents who have like serial killers for kids created that serial killer.
Right.
Like, but like at the same time, you're going to feel... You're going to be devastated.
You're going to feel bad.
Something went wrong.
The prayer thing, you know, if I had a kid and I saw my kid actually kneeling down to pray, I think my impulse would probably be to pray with my kid. Just kneel down with them, but just point out how goofy the whole thing is. I would be like, and please bless that we can have a monkey, and please bless that we'll get $1 million.
I've always wanted an extra set of arms.
Yes, please bless Dan Jr. with a tail, because he really wants one of those. In the name of whoever can do these magic tricks, amen.
See, what I would do if I see my kid like kneeling down praying, I'd sneak up behind him and be like, Nicholas, or whatever his name might be. I hear your prayers.
No, because then they'll turn around. What you need to do is sneak. You need to find out that they're praying. You need to sneak a walkie-talkie in somewhere.
Oh, but then that sounds, you hear the little, this is God speaking, over and out.
Or just give him a God walkie-talkie. Just get this. Oh, don't pray. That's the old-fashioned way. Here's the new way to talk directly to God.
He needs the iPrayer app is what he needs. So he can like...
This is God.
Send his wishes to God on the app.
Right.
And anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it wouldn't devastate me if he was praying. I think you hit the nail on the head. If they're being immoral people, that would be pretty devastating.
You find out that they're you know, grossly flawed as human beings.
Right, yeah.
Like that sucks. But they could be, you know, I don't care.
I think
I would be accepting of like a kid who kind of wanders a little bit,
sure,
who kind of, you know, takes a long time to figure things out.
Tries
it took me a long time
out.
to figure things out.
Absolutely.
So I would hope that I'd be able to give advice and wisdom that could avoid the lost decade.
Yeah.
But But yeah, at the same time, I don't feel worse for wear.
Right. Yeah.
So.
What if your kid came to you and said, "Dad, I'm converting to Judaism, but not the religion. I'm converting to the culture."
Cool.
Just
Yeah.
kidding.
That's weird, but go for it.
Yeah. Anyway, we did have some donors donate,
excellent.
which is something that I encourage.
Yeah, it's
in
always
all of
nice.
our listeners.
It's always nice to hear.
Stephen is now a monthly subscriber.
Well, thank you, Steven.
Which is great. And we've got Thomas, who gave us a very generous one-time donation. So thank you, both of you guys. You rock.
Thanks, guys. We do appreciate it.
We really do.
All right. Well, that leads us into our discussion, right? About
Yeah, sure.
atheists and spirituality. How did this come up, Dan, this week?
Well, here's what we got. There was an announcement made, I don't know when it was technically announced, but Sam Harris is going to have a new book that comes out, I think, in September.
That's a ways off.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so he's still polishing it up right now.
probably, sure.
He's still cranking out a few chapters.
Yeah. No, probably at this point it's just editing at this point, one would hope. And, picking good cover art.
Yes.
Anyway, Waking Up, A Guide to Spirituality Without Religion will be the title of this book. And
okay, wait. A Guide to Spirituality Without Religion.
That's the crux of the thing. Now,
that's
how about
Sam
that?
Harris?
Yes, sir.
This seems a little
It
a
does
little
seem
different. This seems to be a little bit of a departure. Is it?
I don't know.
To be honest, I haven't. I've read what's the Sam Harris that I read? The
Did you read An End to Faith?
That's the one I read. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I read it too. He's a very logically minded fella.
Yes.
He's a very he's got a degree in philosophy and then an advanced degree in neuroscience.
Right. But he's one of the four horsemen.
Indeed.
Right.
He's
of the atheist apocalypse.
He's sort of one of the luminary voices in atheism today.
Right.
So it is interesting that he wants to embrace spirituality.
So what does that mean?
Well, isn't that a great
spirituality?
question?
The book's not out, so we
don't know his definition.
We don't know where he's going with it. And so let's just separate ourselves from the whole Sam Harris thing and just say, and now start our, let's just use that as a good jumping off point. What is spirituality, Dan? What do you think of the word? I kind of avoid it personally.
Yeah, so you start with the concept of a spirit, don't you? With spirituality, or can it be boiled? Do you not have to boil it down that far?
Spirituality to me feels woo-woo.
Indeed.
It feels like it's this mystical sort of almost obviously it's used in traditional religious settings,
right,
to talk about one's spirituality. In Mormonism,
sure,
is to talk about one's connection with God.
Well, one of the dictionary definitions of the word spiritual is of or relating to religion or religious belief. That's one of the definitions of it.
Right.
So yeah, you're going to get a lot of religion just tied into it no matter what. And so the other definition that I'm seeing is of, relating to, or affecting the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things.
Okay.
Now,
there's that soul word.
What the fuck does that mean, and what are we talking about? So I think the one could talk about awe, wonder.
That's where my mind. If I'm an atheist and I'm like, okay, how would I use the word spirituality or spiritual?
If you were forced to.
If I was absolutely 100% forced to, and to figure out a way to use it, you're right. There is this sense of awe. Mm-hmm. We were talking earlier, and I mentioned sort of, you stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon, and you look down, and you're like, holy crap, right? And it's this awe of the immensity of it, and staring off into the stars at night.
Sure,
any
number of things.
There's so many ways to kind of tap into that sense of just awe.
Mm-hmm.
But don't we already have a word? Isn't it awe?
Isn't that a word that we can use? But this is sort of a more. To me, when I think of spirituality, I do think also of a I think of a connectedness between humanity. I think like that part of like humanism comes into it to some extent. I'm not a humanist,
No.
in the organized sort of sense of it,
Right.
but I do believe that I believe in pro-sociality, and I believe in a lot. So those kind of things get wrapped up in the concept. There's a piece in the Religion News Service in the RNS by Chris Stedman. He's the faithist.
Right.
For those of you who might remember that.
Right. I think he's assistant chaplain, right, at
Yale? At Harvard.
At Harvard.
And he's a humanist chaplain. Anyway, he wrote a piece, and he brought up the interview that Oprah Winfrey did with Diana Nyad, who's the swimmer,
right?
Who's an atheist, who went on the show with Oprah and said, "I'm an atheist, but I experience this. I stand hand in hand with my religious friends and experience this sense of awe and wonder and
right. Standing at the edge of the ocean and looking out, so
right?
Sort of thing, right?
Indeed." To which Oprah's response was, "Well, then you're not an atheist."
Right.
And then everybody was like, "Oh, hey, Oprah, guess what? Fuck you."
And she sat there and argued with her about it. It was not a good moment for Oprah.
But Nyad was actually just carried herself with such aplomb, and she was great. And she said, quote, "I think you can be an atheist who doesn't believe in an overarching being who created all of this and sees over it. But there's spirituality because we human beings and we animals and maybe we plants, but certainly the ocean and the moon and stars, we all live with something that is cherished and we feel the treasure of it."
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm not sure where I go with this. I tend to be I really eschew the woo-woo.
Yeah.
I really don't connect to it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a person who likes the world as it is. And when I feel a connection to other people, I don't ascribe anything more to it than I feel a connection to other people.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that being part of an evolutionary mandate. Because we are a social species.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be anything more than that.
It's kind of cold existence.
Yeah.
Heartless.
I am
soulless.
I am a soulless evil being. Yes, it's true.
I'll tell you something. I didn't think that I didn't know quite where I was going to go with this conversation, but I just had this week of television. And I actually got around to watching Cave of Forgotten Dreams, the Werner Herzog film.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed because when I initially saw it on Netflix, it was on the 3D queue.
Oh.
And we have the goggles for the 3D television, and so I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. This is a real regret of not seeing it in the theater film for me.
Right.
I was really, really bummed. And I went to it, and it was no longer in the 3D queue. And I was just like, God damn it, they took it off. No, they left it on in 2D. They took off the 3D.
What?
And anyways, the Cave of Forgotten Dreams, it's about this cave in France that has cave art from 32,000 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
It survived the floods.
It somehow
all of them,
the floods. And it's beautiful.
Right.
It's this cave art is stunning in how accurate and pictorial it is.
And apparently it was filmed. Herzog shot it in 3D because they used the topography of the cave, of the wall,
the shape of
as part of the
exactly.
as part of the drawing.
It looked like to me, because I did watch it in 3D, or in 2D,
right?
So I couldn't really tell, but just from the way the shadows were hitting things. But there was shading and shadow in these depictions of these animals.
Wow,
and it was stunning. But it looked like a bump or sort of a little crease in the rock was used to sort of highlight the cheekbones of this horse.
Oh, wow.
Like just crazy stunning stuff. There was this crazy stalactite that hanging down that had the only human representation on it, or partial human representation. It was kind of a minotaur, but it was a lower female body. It was probably some kind of fertility figure or something. But they used this stalactite to like do this almost human representation.
Interesting.
And just fascinating stuff. The public just is, I mean, talk about not being allowed in. Like Herzog was allowed in under the most strict conditions. And
You
the
got
scientists who go into it.
X number of hours for like 3 days, and that was it.
And that was it. And they went in figuring they were probably the only camera crew to ever be allowed in.
Right.
For any foreseeable time.
Anyway,
but this film, the thing that is amazing about it is this sense of like connection over a much longer span of time than I think we've ever been able to have on such a scale with human ancestors. I mean, these were morphologically modern human beings.
Sure.
Right. I mean, this human beings looked like human beings at this point.
Right.
Now, there were some Neanderthals roaming around about in Europe at this time as well, but nonetheless. But like, they were expressing their something. They felt compelled to express art in what and to express their moment, their situation on these walls. And of course it's a different understanding of like the concept of art. I'm sure didn't even exist, right?
Right.
In the sense that it exists now.
But somebody had the impulse to paint some stuff.
Somebody had an impulse to do something so distinctly human, right? To express themselves, whether it was a religious expression, it most likely probably was, whatever, right? But it was stunning and it was beautiful. And actually what's amazing, this struck me in the film as well, that there'd always been this question about cave lions in Europe, about whether they had manes or not.
Oh.
And these pictures tell us, because these were human eyes,
right,
making representations that seem to be accurate about all the other animals.
Sure.
And here's a cave lion with no mane. And so they were actually, there's useful information. Well, I don't know how useful it is, whether or not they had mane, but like but information that actually meant something, an observation about their world that was communicated from 32,000 years ago.
Yep.
And I just sat there in absolute awe.
Well, there you go.
But I don't know that it was spiritual.
Well, all that leading up to, well, I mean, it's not like it was a spiritual experience.
Well, but
well, here's an interesting thought. Those people 30,000 years ago,
32,000 years ago,
fine, did not have Jesus. They did not have Muhammad. They did not have most of this stuff. Like, they did not have religion, anything that we would figure is religion. They probably had superstitions. And
it
they
was
had
probably very, very, very pagan.
Who knows what the hell it was?
It was, well, I mean, there was like a bear skull that up on sort of this altar. And of course, it's us sort of projecting, well, what would that have meant?
Interpreting
or
whatever
or
thing.
Was it intentional? Like, you know, but nonetheless, like there.
But what I'm getting at is maybe these people had, if you and I were to ascribe some spiritual sensibility, that could be what drove somebody 32,000 years ago to paint on a wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just the need to express, period, doesn't make much sense in the large scheme of things.
Well, and that's something that was also like, that's interesting. There were Neanderthals roaming about in the same area. There's no evidence that they ever left a single artifact of like something that they created that was symbolic.
Right.
And that's the key here, is that humans, we are symbolic. We're symbol-seeking creatures.
We are indeed.
We thrive on it, and we thrive because of it, right? We wouldn't have language if we didn't understand symbols.
Indeed, yeah.
And so, like, I mean,
it's a fascinating thing. Like, why we do things like art.
Yeah.
And why we do things like, in the modern context, a podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes, we are a different critter.
Oh, yeah.
Than anything else that's ever existed on this
Something
planet.
triggered in our heads at some point, and it was the great evolutionary advantage.
Yeah.
And
whatever that. So I'm a huge believer in like marveling at all of this.
Yeah.
All of this. And so marveling at humans and humanity, marveling at space and, this
time.
Time
blows my mind.
Marveling at all of the things.
Yeah.
Marveling at a flower. Marveling, it's all there. We have these amazing mountains that we can just drive to any day of the week. And I do.
Yeah.
Drive up into the mountain and just go for a walk. And then, I don't know why driving into a mountain, going for a walk in the mountains feels special. But it does.
Well, you're not in the city.
Well, but the cities feel special to me too.
Yeah.
Like driving over the 6th North Overpass and looking at downtown Salt Lake City with our mountains as backdrop. That is gorgeous too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, so if I were to apply the word spiritual to anything, that's the feeling that I apply it to. But I just don't know that. But I will say this. I'm going to bring this in. What's his name?
David Silverman.
Stedman quotes Silverman.
Okay.
And Dave Silverman has a very good point. And that point is spirituality is one of those double meaning words. This is a quote. Mm-hmm. It's no better than calling yourself religious because that's what religious people hear.
Right.
I choose to convey the truth. I am compassionate. I am empathetic. I am good, but I'm not spiritual in any way that a theist would interpret.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that we're getting to.
It's a tricky word, and if we want to use it as atheists, it's going to take a lot of a bigger discussion about what the word is and how it's used, and it will involve a lot of pushback.
Yeah, indeed.
Like, do we really want to use that word?
Especially, any
because
word.
Here's one of these moments. It's not all the time, doesn't happen very regularly, but I'm kind of in the David Silverman camp on this one.
Yeah. No, I think
am.
Silverman nailed it, and so I think here's my guiding star. Taking Silverman into account, here's my guiding star.
Okay.
Any word that would trigger Oprah to discount my atheism, I'm not going to use. So if I say spirituality, I think Oprah would go, "Oh, you're spiritual. That means that you're not an atheist." And then, or any word that would trigger Oprah to feel like she gets to.
Well, then maybe this is a word
in.
that we use sort of in private amongst our other atheist friends, right? Who all understand what we mean.
Or maybe we can come up with better words. Maybe we can just abandon this word altogether. I don't need it.
No.
I need a way of describing how I feel.
Right.
But awe, wonder, marvel.
Well, like, I don't immediately also reject the idea of, like, soul. Right? I don't think there's an eternal soul. I don't think there's a soul that goes on after I die.
Right.
But I think that there is something in the human spirit, right, that is unique, that is interesting, that is creative, that is so imaginative.
Yeah.
It's it blows my mind what people can come up with. You know,
what about
just watch a TED Talk, people? Like, come on, like people are doing like crazy things that are
so cool,
so incredibly cool. We live in an amazing time, and to be able to appreciate that. But notice, like, I mean, TED Talks for the most part are science-y and education-y and blah blah blah. I mean, that's all I want. I just want my mind blown.
Yeah,
maybe mind blowningality.
Yeah, I mean, what we've got is a mind.
Yeah.
I don't need a soul. I've got a mind.
Yeah, but
that can be blown.
Yeah.
And that can sit in wonder and awe.
Yeah, but
that's what I've got.
I don't feel my emotions up in my head. I feel them down here. And that's why there's always people talk about the heart and like,
call it your chest mind. You've got your brain mind and your chest mind.
But I mean, that there is a separation, I think, emotions affect my whole body. It's not just something that goes on up in my head. And so I get this need historically to separate the two out. I mean, it's
Sure.
clearly the mind affecting the body, but it doesn't feel like it's the body. It feels like it's something deeper.
And why not
more
use that
intrinsic
as long as we're clear that, we're speaking semi-metaphorically or symbolically, then sure, talk about your heart, talk about your soul, talk about the fire in your belly.
Right. But again,
I don't actually think that there's fire in your belly, but talk in those terms. That's fine.
It's a symbol.
As long as we're clear about that, it's fine. It's fine. Clarity's the important part.
Nobody thinks there's fire in your belly.
But they do think there's a soul, and that's the problem. And they do think that there's a spirit. And so it's about clarity. That's all we're getting at.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And these are things that clearly work when you're speaking to an atheist audience who understands how you're using the words.
Right.
But if you're speaking to another, like, appropriating their words, meaning the religious world's words,
Right.
may not be the best course for us.
Yeah. We'll come up with something better.
I don't know what it is. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, well.
We've had this conversation, not this exact conversation, but we've been on this topic before.
I know. Well, you know what? I invite our listeners to join this conversation if you want to.
If they want to.
Go ahead and write into it. If you have anything that would be nice to add, you can write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Right. Or if your spirit tells you to do this, you could go to the Facebook page and like us there. That's facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
That is correct. All right. Might as well just mention this. There are a couple products. There are some TGIA products now up on Zazzle.com/TGIAtheist.
Yeah.
If you're interested in a hoodie or a mug.
Yeah.
I know not all of you are on the Facebook page, so you might not even know about it. ZAZZLE.com.
Our friend Lee from Australia bought a mug. She sent us a nice picture of it.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's just good stuff.
So those are out there, and we're going to be adding more merch as we go on. So just wanted to.
Now, if you want the official TGIA T-shirt, you can still go on to thankgodimatheist.com, and there's a little link for the shirt there.
Right. Yeah. Thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use one of their tracks.
And thanks to Mackenzie for being in charge of our social media.
Yeah, we sure do appreciate it. Well, thank you to everyone for listening, and have a good week.
Bye-bye.